Hello everyone, I am Yasser Oussalah, a computer science doctor and a lecturer at University of Constantine. And today we are going to present an introduction to big data. As prerequisite, you need at least to master the basics of operating system. And at the end of this course, you will have a minimum mastery of big data basics. In this presentation, we are going the following plan. First of all, we are going to give the introduction of big data along with the data evolution. Afterwards, we will give a definition of big data and the data resources. And finally, we will finish with the data categories and the dimension of big data. According to LinkedIn, the most searched skills are cloud and distributed computing, statistical analysis and data mining, and storage systems and management. So we can say that the data is the new oil of this century. In fact, it is important to note that every day we generate 2.5 trillion bytes of data, where 80% of the existing data has been created in the last 2 years. However, 80% of the existing data is unstructured data, so most of it has not been processed yet. Let's have a look at the data generated per minute on the internet. We can see here that there are 4.5 million videos viewed on YouTube. We have 1 million views on Twitch, 2.1 million snaps created per minute. All this data is generated just in 1 minute. Just imagine if data accumulated in years would be analyzed. In fact, this generates a lot of data insights concerning people's behavior. Now let's move to the data evolution. It all began when the traditional databases failed to be stored into single machine, or they failed to be stored in traditional databases. So the unstructured data was enabled to be stored into traditional databases. And this generated a lot of data challenges, such as performance, scalability, and reliability. In order to ensure performance, we can ensure the parallel computing, which allows to process data in parallel manner. We can assure scalability by adding capacity to our system. And in order to perform reliability, we can add fault tolerance mechanism to our system. Consequently, to face these problems, in 2003, Google published a paper called the Google File System, or the GFS. It is a system designed to run on a large number of inexpensive servers. We can see here the architecture of this system. Each data file is divided into many data blocks, and we have the GFS master that stores all the metadata related to this data blocks. So if a client wants to access a specific data block, it would request the metadata from the GFS master. The GFS master would give it all the metadata required to access the chunk locations and IDs, and the client application would access the file location or file blocks by using write and reading actions or operations directly with the chunk server. Now let's move to the data measures used to measure big data. We can consider big data from the petabytes, and since the provided frameworks offered to support big data have been evolved in drastic manner. In such way, in 2013, the largest data center was able to process 1 yottabytes of data, which is a very high volume. So from what precedes, let's define the big data. The big data refers to data sets that become too large to the point where it is beyond the ability of traditional systems or traditional databases to process, store, manage, and analyze. So from where this data have been accumulated? All this data come from different resources. We can see here the sensors, social media posts, we have official statistics, websites logs, digital images and videos posted online, we have online transactions, and many other types of data. We can categorize them as follows. We have the social networks data, we have the financial data, we have multimedia data, we have the data that are coming from the ERP systems, we have data that is coming from the sensors, and finally we have the mobile apps data. Now let's move forward to the categories of data. We can categorize the data according to their structure into three common types, which are the structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. Structured data include data warehouses, databases, ERP, and CRM systems, whereas the semi-structured data include the CSV, XML, and JSON files. And lastly, the unstructured data includes the audios, videos, and images posted online. So now we move to the dimensions of big data. We can see here that there are 5 dimensions of big data. Firstly, it began with 3 dimensions, which are the volume, the velocity, and the variety. Afterwards, these dimensions have included 2 other dimensions, which are the veracity and the veracity and the value. We can see here that the data in 2021 has reached 74 zettabytes of data, which is very high volume. We can see here the variety, as we have discussed before. There are 3 types of data structures: structured, semi-structured, and unstructured. And we have the velocity of data, which is defined as the speed at which the data is generated or is proliferated. We already discussed the data that is generated just in 1 minute, and we can see here in this figure. And now let's move forward to the veracity. The veracity is defined as the unreliability that is existing in the data. So in order to process or analyze data, there is a need to clean it from unreliable data in order to make decisions upon it. The value. The value of data is, if data is analyzed in a correct manner, it would offer a very high value. So there are a lot of methods that are taken into consideration when analyzing data. So we can do descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, and diagnostic analytics. So we can see here that we can predict predict or prevent the mass outbreaks of the virus, such as coronavirus, when we analyze the data from the past records or the data that are stored in previous records. So if we analyze the data, we can predict the virus. We can also do the real-time processing, such as in real-time personalization. We can do also real-time route planning and many other operations that helps in real-time decisions. Now, from what precedes, we can conclude that the data were defined according to their 5 V's, which are the characteristics of big data. These 5 V's generated 3 major challenges, which are performance, scalability, and reliability. Thankfully, all these challenges have been covered thanks to the frameworks offered to support big data, which assured the fault tolerance, computing, and storage. And now we concluding with the comment section. So if you have any question, feel free to comment, to put it in the comment section, and it will be replied, inshallah.